approves 188 million cedis for the office.
The man is complaining that he's been put in a very obscure place, obscure premises. Because of lack of space, he cannot even request more staff on secondment. And it's as if we set the office up to fail.
More as we engage members on the Legal Affairs Committee in Parliament. Top stories brought to you by Bond Savings and Loan Seal Success, our passion. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? Gasm, the nation builder, and Antarte Furniture, designed for life. My name is Gifty Andoh Appiah. Tonight, there is scrutiny on the role of the governing board of the Office of the Special Prosecutor in hindering the ability of the office to function after it emerged that the office only spent 5 million of the 180 million cedis approved for its fight against corruption. In fact, in 2019, the office says it only managed to conclude 2 cases out of the 46 complaints it received. It also started 8 cases in court. Today, Parliament approved another 188 million cedis for the next year, but the minority remain unconvinced about the work pace of the special prosecutor. Listen to minority member of the Legal and Constitutional Committee, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekbo, blame the governing board for Martin Amedu's inactivity.
The governing board for the Office of the Special Prosecutor was inaugurated sometime this year, early this year.
Yeah.
Now, my expectations is that this board will hit the ground running and ensure that all the administrative and statutory requirements that are supposed to be met to enable the operations of the Office of the Special Prosecutor become effective would have been done. But the Special Prosecutor came before us with his annual report. And from the report, it's clear that he doesn't even have what they call the procurement, the tender committee. You understand?
Right.
So, because of the absence of the procurement committee, it's affecting the procurement and tendering processes of the office. They are unable to buy operational vehicles. They are unable to buy goods and services, because we don't have the tender committee in place.
And you think this is the job of the governing board?
It is the job of the governing board, not the Office of the Special Prosecutor. He cannot sue to set up a tender committee. No, it is the board. It is the board that is supposed to perform that function. It is the board that is supposed to set those administrative mechanisms.
So clearly, if the special prosecutor is not performing, we should lay the blame squarely on the door of the governing board.
It appears that there are a whole gamut of factors that have come together to inhibit the effectiveness of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. One, it's not receiving cooperation from other government appointees. 2, the board that is supposed to ensure that certain administrative bodies are operational to enable the office function are absent. For instance, the tender committee. Again, the allocation of office space. My brother, a lot of state agencies have come before us who have gone out to rent commercial properties to enable them render the public service for which they've been set up. If we don't have a public building to accommodate the Office of the Special Prosecutor, it should be possible for them to be accommodated in a private premises for the appropriate rent to be paid. We don't see those things. The man is complaining that he's been put in a very obscure place, obscure premises. Because of lack of space, he cannot even request more staff on secondment. And it's as if we set the office up to fail.
Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekbo there. Well, Deputy Minority Whip Ahmed Ibrahim was clear the office has nothing to show more than a year after it was set up.
I'm surprised to see today that of the 180 million, only 5 million have been released. But this is highly insufficient, and it is on that basis that have come to the achievements that he was able to achieve in 2019. His performance. As key achievements of the Office of Special Prosecutor in 2019, The first achievement, conclusion of 2 investigations and commencement of prosecution of 8. Not even a single case was commenced and concluded. Not even one. Second achievement, received 46 allegations, 46 complaints and petitions as at the end of October 2019 and referred them to the appropriate agencies for investigation. This is the second achievement. Third achievement, collaborated effectively with relevant agencies to prevent corruption. This was third achievement. Fourth achievement, work closely with the audit service through information and intelligence sharing and conduct of joint investigations. These were the only things that the Office of Special Prosecutor was able to do in the whole of 2019 with an approved budget of 180 million. The Speaker, most of the times, we pass legislation, we set up institutions, but if the accompaniments are not given to this appropriate institution, performance becomes a problem. And the Speaker, not only that, when you come to compensation, of the 33.4 million Ghana cedis that were allocated for compensation, release was zero. Then the question is, how were the 17 staff who were working in the Office of the Special Prosecutor, how were they working? The explanation is that all the 17 members were on secondment in the Office of the Special Prosecutor, meaning they were already working in certain government institutions. It was just a matter of establishing an office and saying that we are allocating 33 million. And if you read the report, the Office of the Special Prosecutor intends to recruit over 200 staff to be able to work. That's what is in the report. Because they don't have an office accommodation, they are now planning to build an office accommodation. However, 58.6 million Ghana cedis was given to the Special Prosecutor, approved by this house for capital expenditure to be used in setting up the office. As I'm talking now, release, so none of that capital expenditure is also zero. So how do you fight corruption in this way? Capital expenditure, your release is zero. Compensation, your release is zero. Goods and services, 58 million. And the report says it is zero. If you read the report, it says that all the only 17 staff are there and they are all on second level. So they are paid in their various institutions. But not even a single person was recruited from January to date who they are now telling us. Oh, if this has been paid, maybe he was also on second man. But the report I'm I don't want to say there's something fundamentally wrong with the report. The chairman of Constitutional Legal is here. So if all that I'm saying they are not correct, you have come out to say the correct facts.
Deputy Minority Whip Ahmed Ibrahim there. Well, despite the concerns that the Chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Committee, Ben Abdullah, announced government has taken steps to meet some needs of the Special Prosecutor, including a favorable office accommodation and personnel to work with.
The delayed completion of the new office building, which accounted for the OSP's inability to be fully operational in 2019. The committee also notes the frantic efforts being made by His Excellency the President and the OSP to address the infrastructural and structural challenges facing the office, and it is hoped that the efforts will yield positive results to pave the way for the smooth implementation of the 2020 budget of the OSP if approved by the House. Mr. Speaker, based on the above, the committee recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve the aforementioned sum for the activities of the Office of the Special Prosecutor for the 2020 financial year.
Ben Abdullah there. So how is Parliament working to fix this? We'll talk to the chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Committee, again, Ben Abdullah, as well as the deputy ranking member on the Legal and Constitutional Committee, Roxin Dafiamekbo. But first, let's head to Parliament, where correspondent Kwesi Parker Wilson is standing by. Parker.
Hello, Gifty.
Parker, run us through the report which captures these details about the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
Okay, so the details of the annual budget estimate of the OSP for the 2020 financial year. And Gifty, I'm sure you're aware that this morning Parliament approved 188 million for the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Now, out of that amount, 36,232,000 is going for compensation of employees. And that has been a major concern of the minority that last year, the year under review, that is this particular year, when they approved the budget estimate in 2018 for 2019, it was 180 million. And yet only 5 million Ghana cedis was disbursed to the special prosecutor. Even with that, the 5 million, the special prosecutor wasn't able to expend all the amount or use all the 5 million, basically because he wasn't able to recruit the over 240 personnel that they have planned to recruit because of lack of office space. Now let me move on to goods and services. Here, the allocation is 92,976,000 for the office, goods and services. And capital expenditure, the special prosecutor is expected to receive 58,875,000 Ghana cedis. And so if you put them together, that is 188 million Ghana cedis for the office of the special prosecutor for the year 2020. And Gifty, it is important to note that in conclusion and recommendation of the committee's report, it stated that there are 13 challenges encountered by the office of the special prosecutor in the implementation of the 2019 budget, particularly the delayed completion of the new office building, which accounted for the OSP's inability to be fully operational in 2019. So these are the committee's report when they submitted it to the House this morning.
Parker, thank you very much. Very soon we'll be joined on the line by Chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Committee, Ben Abdullah. But I do have on the line Deputy Ranking Member on the committee, Roxin Dafiamekbo, so we can understand this report further, and the use of 5 million out of 180 million. What does it mean, and to what extent does it even amount to inefficiency on the part of the Office of the Special Prosecutor? Mr. Dafiamekbo? Very well, we'll be getting to them. But if you're listening, if you're just tuning in, the governing board of the Office of the Special Prosecutor has come under scrutiny. That's because the board is being accused of hindering the work of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. According to the report that we just got highlights of it from Parker, the office spent less than 5 million out of 180 million allocated to it. But the question is, how much of the 180 million was disbursed to the office apart from the allocation? We get on the line now to speak to the members on the committee that received this report. Mr. Dafiamekbo, thank you very much for your time this evening here on Top Story.
It's my pleasure. And good evening to your listeners.
Very well, sir. Thanks. Now we're looking at 180 million, out of which the Office of the Special Prosecutor is said to have spent 5 million. You raised a lot of concerns. You said that there are so many bottlenecks that are affecting the ability of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But if you have 180 million, what stops you from renting an office space with it?
The actual amount that the Office of the Special Prosecutor was given out of 180 million was 5.761 million. 5,761,893,000. That was how much they gave him for 2019 out of the allocated 180 million. Now, out of this 5.7, only utilized 633,000.
I'm losing you intermittently. Can you reposition? And if you can you reposition? And if you can give me a wrap of what you've said earlier, because I lost you.
Okay. What I'm saying is that out of the 180 million that was supposed to have been given to the Office of the Special Prosecutor for its operation for 2019, the office was actually given 5.761 million, less than 6 million.
Okay.
And out of that, the office actually spent 633,000. Now, what it means is that the office has in its account 5 million to spend, because it has been actually given that money. But the difficulty that he came to speak to us about includes the fact that the office doesn't have a tender committee. And the tender committee is the setting up of the tender committee is a function of the board of the special prosecutor.
Okay.
The board had long since been inaugurated by the president. So my question is, why isn't the board doing its duties, including setting up the committees that is supposed to assist the office of the special prosecutor function? And one critical such committee is the tender committee. So they can't make purchases.
Okay.
They can't buy operational vehicles. They can't buy anything. And you see, the man is hesitant because he's checking corruption, particularly in procurement processes. So once he himself hasn't got a tender committee, he's very careful.
Right.
So that is why I summed it up by saying that it appears we set the office of the special prosecutor to make it fail.
Very well, Mr. Dafiamak, but hang on for me. Let me bring in Mr. Ben Abdallah into the conversation. Sir, thank you very much for your time and for holding. Now, the question I asked Mr. Dafiamak is, what stops the office of the special prosecutor from renting an office space, if that has been the biggest issue for them? And he says, without a tender committee, they cannot do much. Did the Office of the Special Prosecutor explain this when they presented their report?
Yes, let me say good evening to all your listeners, and let me say that the difficulty arising out of the non-composition of the tender entity committee stems from the fact that the office of the special prosecutor doesn't have enough space to be able to operate from. The office that they are operating from now is a temporary office. And it is worthy to note that when the special prosecutor and his team appeared before the committee, we asked them this question, and they told us that the president had allocated to the office the former office of the Get Fund. And when they were about to move into the office, they realized that some portions of the office had developed cracks and they couldn't have moved in that state. So this was brought to the attention of His Excellency the President, and then the original contractor who worked or built or constructed the structure was tasked to carry out the repair works, complete him, and make the office available to the office of the special prosecutor within a reasonable time. That explains the reason why the office has not been able to utilize all its money, has not been able to has not been able to employ 249 staff that they intended to employ in respect of the money that was allocated to them for the 2019 budget.
But regarding the building which was allocated to the office and the renovations that have to happen for them to be able to move in, how long ago was this, and how soon is it finished? Are they finishing their work?
Yes, when the special prosecutor came, we asked him that question, and he said that he could not be definitive about the answer. But looking at the progression of work so far, he could give us a tentative date of 5 months, or maybe less than 5 months. So if the work relates to putting the office in place and making it habitable, then I can also say without any hesitation that if we are given or if we should give the contractor 4 or 5 months, the contractor should be able to complete the work in order to let the office of the special prosecutor move in and work at their full capacity.
So the office of the special prosecutor has been set up for quite some time now. Mr. Appiah says it looks as if he was set up to fail, because if he was allocated 180 million and out of that only 5 million was disbursed to the office, then they really don't have much to work with in the first place.
No, it's not as though the government is not willing to release money to the office of the special prosecutor. It is, for instance, we need to note that out of 88 million cedis that was earmarked for goods and services, a little over 5 million was released, and they were able to spend only 633,000. Do you get it? So even though much was approved, some reasonable amount was released to them, not all the amount released to the office was utilized by the office, because they didn't need so much to be able to operate because of the problem I've already mentioned. They don't have the full complement of their staff.
Talking about the full yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes, they don't have the full complement of their staff. And they don't have the full complement of their staff because they haven't recruited. And they cannot recruit and put personnel in an open space. They have to have an office to be able to operate from. That explains why up till now they haven't been able to recruit the number of staff required for the office to be able to work effectively.
Speaking about the staff, we understand from the report that even though they have the office of the special prosecutor has 17 workers, it reported zero payment for compensations and salaries. Doesn't mean that Mr. Amido himself did not pay himself?
No, it means that the 17 staff that the office of the special prosecutor works with are all on secondment. So they are paid by their mother institutions. The Martin Amido, who is the special prosecutor, and the deputy special prosecutor are both Article 71 office holders. So they are not paid directly from the coffers of the office of the special prosecutor. They are treated differently. Like I said, from the time that Martin Amido and his deputy assume office, they have been consistently paid. There is no, as I'm talking, a single arrear outstanding which has not been paid. There's nothing of the sort.
Okay. Well, going forward, we have to wrap up this conversation. Going forward, Mr. Appiah, what do you see is the way forward? Today, you've approved 188 million, which is 8 million more than was approved last year. To what extent was it necessary, and what do you see as the way forward?
Now, to the extent that we again getting assurances from the office of the special prosecutor that the board will do its duty by setting up all the internal relevant committees to be able to help it function, to, for instance, recruit about 250 permanent staff, some of which will be manning its regional offices, some of which will be manning its operations, to the extent that the entity tender committee will be set up to be able to purchase operational vehicles to enable it to go around its duties in 2020. We will take his word for it, but it's the conduct of the government that worries me, because I keep saying that if it is necessary, the board should determine whether or not they cannot acquire private premises to enable them operate at full trot. pending. Let me also.
But we've heard from the chairman of the committee say that in 4 months, the Get Fund building should be ready for the office of the special prosecutor to move in. This is unfortunately all that we have time for at the moment. Mr. Ben Abdallah, thank you very much for your time this evening. Mr. Dafiamako, thank you also for your time. Well, you had Chairman of the Legal and Constitutional Committee, Ben Abdallah, and the Deputy Ranking Member, Roxanne Dafiamako. Top story is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans, your success, our passion. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready Gasm, the nation builder, and Tati Furniture and Design for Life. I'm Gifty Andoh Appiah. Evans Mensah is on Ghana Connect.